Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to a short series of Blender tutorials for interns at Resilience. My name is Steven, and I'm going to be taking you through the Blender process from modeling, texturing, right on through to animating and exporting to game engine. And I'm going to be starting at a very beginner level. We're going to be working through things just from start to finish. I will say beforehand that all the advice and guidance I will be providing is in line with my own workflow, and as such may or may not be the best way to go about doing things. I will also say that before we get started, you're going to want to have a 3-button mouse. So that's a mouse with 2 buttons to click with and a scroll wheel in the middle, a number pad, and a Windows computer. I don't know anything about Macs, but I will be doing my best to include keyboard shortcuts for people who are on Macs, as a lot of what we're doing is going to be relying on keyboard shortcuts. So I'll try and do my best with that. And for people who do not have a 3-button mouse or a mouse pad, there are workarounds. So it's that are not that far out of your way. So it's really not the end of the world, and it's really not that inconvenient. It's totally all good. So let's get into it. So you're going to want to go to your browser of choice. For some reason that is Chrome for me. And you're going to type in Blender download and click the link right here from blender.org. And now I'm going to click the big blue button to download it on Windows. But if you are on something else, there's a whole bunch of other downloads here. It's worth noting there's also a Steam download, which is the version that I use just because it tracks hours automatically. I know not everyone has Steam, so I'm going to be using the Windows version, even though they're all the same. There's no difference between the Windows version and the Steam version as far as I can tell. So I'm going to click download, and it's going to download. Just going to throw it on my desktop. Doesn't really matter where you put it as long as you can find it. Now we're going to start this download, which, took a very long time on my end, so I'm going to I'll be back when it's done. We're back. Download took me a while. In any case, once it's done, you're going to run the installer by double clicking on it. It's going to do its thing, and you're just going to want to accept all the terms. It's going to install some libraries and such. We want all of it, all the good stuff. Blender's not going to do you any wrong. Just accept these here. It's going to install. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay, so now it's complete. We're just going to click finish. And no matter what folder that you put the installer, it will create a shortcut on your desktop. So you're just going to want to double click that. And congrats, you have opened Blender. You'll be greeted by this splash screen. It's got this funny picture of a dog, but it changes with every version. So it's going to give you some options for the type of files that you can create. There's general, 2D, all of that. Right now we just want to click general, but say you accidentally click away and not click general, it's fine because it loads the general by default. Now my Blender probably looks different than yours does, and that's because I've already applied some custom settings, so I'm just going to quickly revert back to the way that it should look. Okay, here we are. So everything, this is how it should look on your end. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. Doesn't quite matter right now. Let's look at some settings first. So we're gonna go up to edit, and we're gonna click preferences, and you get a whole bunch of more options. Hooray. The first one that you might find important is the resolution scale. So as we move this number up, things get closer together and bigger. And as we move the number down, they get really small. And this is, this could be helpful depending on your setup and circumstances. Just going to leave it at 1. It works well for me, but it's worth playing around with. Next, we want to go down to where it says status bar. Click the arrow here and make sure you have scene statistics checked. And this will tell us the number of vertices, faces, tries, which are what we might call triangles, and the number of objects in our scene. And you can find that information at the bottom right here of the main window. So next, you want to go down to have a bit of fun here. We'll go down to themes, scroll up to the top where it says presets, and you can have your pick of these presets here. They mostly change the color of things, so it's not really going to interfere with the tutorial at all, but just pick one that you like, one that you think is cool. I'm going to settle with Blender Dark. It's what I always use. But again, I don't think that it matters too much. Okay, so next we have the Input tab. This is where some of the accessibility features I mentioned earlier were going to be. For people without a 3-button mouse, more specifically without a scroll wheel, if we click Emulate 3-button mouse here, it's going to get the job done just fine. And the way that is going to work is if you hold Alt and the left click button on the mouse, we're going to be able to emulate the function that it serves in Blender to a T. So no worries there, right? And we'll talk about the numpad a little in the next episode and what to do if you don't have one when we dive into navigation more. Our final thing, we're going to want to take a look at key map. Just make sure that you're selecting with the left mouse button, your spacebar action is set to play, and that your tilde action right here is set to navigate, and that if you have a middle mouse, that your middle mouse action is set to orbit. These should be the default settings, but just in case they aren't, make sure that they're in order. I don't believe that the other settings matter much at the moment, but they should remain at the options you see here just to avoid any sort of confusion. Ultimately, you can set these options however you want, but it may make these tutorials more difficult to follow. Once you're satisfied, you're going to want to hit Save Preferences at the bottom of the window here. It should say Preferences Saved at the bottom. Once that's done, just go ahead and close the window, and we're all on the same page now. We're all set up to kind of tackle Blender. We're going to be doing some more configuration in what's called the 3D viewport, which is where we are now, and then we're going to jump into some details, some modeling. We're going to move some stuff around. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So take care and best of luck.